Dustin Armbruster for Eagle Media and Hayes Post, voice of the Hayes High Indians as Hayes High gets set for the 2025 season at a pretty cool new location, joined by head coach Tony Crough. First of all, how about this? This is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. And I know you can see a little bit of it here with the camera, but when people get out here and they walk around and look around, it's man, it's just a wonderful facility that the community put together for us.
Is it hard to believe it's here? Because there were some failed bonds and there were some questions of if this would even happen, and then you just kind of get into the, is it actually going to appear? And boy, here it is.
Yeah, it's amazing too that as quick as it came along. I mean, we're sitting here a month ago wondering how we're going to get this thing open and how we're going to be in the school and starting the school year. And I mean, it's roughly 2.5 years since they started digging dirt, and so it's just amazing that it's opened up and everybody gets a chance to come out and see this beautiful new thing.
With the new school, with the new field, and I know it'll be week 2 when you get onto it for the first time for a game, is it taking some of the, or is it a distraction for the football season? Because there's still football to be played, yet this is what everybody's talking about.
Yeah, it's been a good little distraction. It's getting to be a little bit too much of a distraction. We're ready to just be planted in this spot and be able to go. We spent the first week over at the old field still because we just weren't ready over here yet, and so now we've been moving over. Now it feels like you're trying to move from into a new house, like right in the middle of your most busy time of the year. And so we're getting the hang of it. But I mean, just cool things football wise. I mean, 3 days ago, earlier this week was the first practice that I know of in the history of Hayes High School that the players got to put on their cleats in their locker room and walk out.
Yep.
I mean, just stuff like that. I mean, you just don't, those are little things you don't realize how spoiled you are when you get in here. So we're hoping we can stay tough and not be too spoiled.
Let's talk about football a little bit. Of course, 2024 ended in the state championship game, a runner-up finish. First time the program has ever been in a state championship game for football. What does that mean for 2025? I know you don't get to carry any of that over, but there's got to be some momentum that moves along with that.
Yeah, the guys are practicing like they know what they're supposed to do, and that's we talked about that earlier a little bit. But these kids just they've got the feel of what you're supposed to do every day at practice, and consistency. People don't realize. If that field isn't over there a couple of years ago, we don't make a state run last year. We really don't, because we bounced around every day, didn't know we were going to practice, didn't know what the conditions were going to be like. We're going to be at Fort Hayes on some turf, we're going to be out back on some dirt or grass. Or the consistency of having a place to practice every day was huge, and being able to put together a run like that. And now you have the consistency of a place like this. You're always going to have sound. You're always going to have, you're going to have video for practice periods. You're going to have lights. You're going to have everything you want, a locker room right underneath. And so it ought to help, and the kids are just kind of feeding off the whole thing.
It seems like every year there's a step that gets taken, and every year those kids taste what it's like. And I know that next step would be a state championship, but does it just kind of feel like that every class understands what it was like and goes, okay, this is what it takes to get to that level?
Yeah, you hope. I mean, you think so. Again, this is uncharted waters, so we're really not sure. We also understand, I think, inside that locker room, and people that really were around us and had a front row seat to what happened last year, I think everybody understands what a wild, a little bit fortunate ride we had last year. Things just stacked up perfectly. You really can't ride it like that every year. So we know it's not a given every year to be able to make that kind of run. If it was, then it would happen more often out here. And so, these guys know that there's nothing given. I mean, they're gonna have to go earn it. We know the first month is gonna be a grind to get through that anyways. And so we're kind of taking it like the end goal isn't the most important thing right now. It's, hey, what are we gonna do in this first month with the end goal in mind that, we can make it back to where we were last year.
Well, we'll start with the team first. We'll talk about the schedule in a little bit because that's a topic all on its own.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the team a little bit and start with the offensive line, where you return maybe the most experience out of anywhere on the team. You got an experienced offensive line and maybe the biggest offensive line in the state of Kansas.
Yeah, that's the crew that really holds it all together. When we finally got in the new locker room on Monday, first thing was said is, O-line, where do you want to go? Pick where you want to go, because they're the guys that hold it together. And that's on the really good teams. That's what it looks like. And so with those guys and being able to bring back Holden behind them, and we got some new pieces in there. And man, Zane's electric with the football too, and he's ready for a breakout season. And with Jarek and with Parker be able to throw it there and some other guys on the perimeter, the offense is just, I think it's ready to explode and do really well.
Without trying to give away too much, you graduate really a passing quarterback last year in Carter Graham. Zane tends to be a little bit more of a running quarterback. Does the offense change much, or is that still to be seen as the first week comes along?
Yeah, a little. Zane, he can throw it. He can really throw the football, and he's not totally different than Carter. It just looks different. Zane's a little bit more electric when he pulls it down and can go, but Zane's more of a design quarterback run kind of guy. Carter was more of a tricky kind of guy, and so it's just kind of the way you piece it together and the way it looks. I think that our quarterback run game is going to have to be a little bit more accounted for than it has in the past, and we expect to spin it around a little bit too. And we've got some nice weapons coming over that really no one's seen yet that we're expecting to get the ball to. So it'll look the same, but there are some different aspects you have to prepare for.
There were so many times last year that all of a sudden it would be small play, and then a big bust of a play. Do you have an idea of what this offense's identity is going to be like going into the season?
Later in the season, we kind of have an idea. Early in the season, we don't really have an idea, and that's and we'll talk about that in a little bit. We understand the first 3, 4 weeks, 5 weeks of the season, we're going to have to be really creative. It's actually going to force us, I think, to get out of our comfort zone. We get real comfortable turning around, handing the ball to Holden, hand the ball to guys in the past, and just letting them get behind that offensive line, and that's where Coach Cherry Holmes really wants to live. But being what it's going to be like with our schedule, we're really going to force us to do some different things. So we expect to be creative. We expect to try to hit big plays when we can. We know there's going to be some times during the season we're behind the sticks, and we're going to have to do some different things. So
let's talk about the defensive side of things. You graduated some guys who racked up a lot of tackles in only 2 years, but maybe more so than that, they were playmakers. Maybe it wasn't always the way it was designed to be, but they found a way to make plays, and that's hard to replace, to have that instinct on how to just play a football game.
Yeah, it's some pieces that we are desperately trying to figure out how to replace them. We think we have the pieces that can get it done. We've got some nice new guys that were on the roster last year that couldn't play yet for just transferring over and being ineligible and things, and some younger guys that have moved on up. It really starts up front with the defensive line, though. It's a good group up there, and we've kind of moved Johnny Rigler into some different spots so we can do some different things with him, and it's going to be, man, every day at practice it feels like Coach Keeley's just in the lab. I mean, he's just going, every day he has a new look. It's driving Coach Cherry Holmes and the offensive staff crazy. He's got a new look every day, going through something else, and just trying to toy with what's going to work based on, we think we have the right 12 to 15 guys to get it done. We're just still trying to figure out where they're going to fit to be able to replace, Dalton and Wyatt and Cooper and all the guys that made those tackles over the last couple of years.
The guys that did come back, though, very integral in what happened on that defensive side, and some of it in the ways that aren't seen. You really kind of have your quarterbacks of the defense back again this year.
Yeah, and just up front, when you start with Tanner Geist, I mean, every day in practice, it's Coach Cherry Holmes is just trying to figure out a way, and Coach Hill trying to figure out a way to block him. We're actually doing some stuff. We've started toying with some different things on how to just, get away from a great defensive lineman. And what do you do? Because Coach Keeley's mixing it up and putting them in different places. And so, and on the back end, I mean, we've still got some brains back there doing the, being able to move us around. Jace Myers, I mean, he doesn't get a lot of publicity because you see this little guy out there that's probably listed, taller than he really is and heavier than he really is, but he's out there, the brains behind the thing, and we've still got some, with Caleb, and we've got Jarek playing the secondary some, and Jackson Chartier and the linebacking crew, I mean, he just tells everybody where to go. So there's a lot of coaches out there. There's a lot of guys that know what to do. We're just trying to piece it all together to make it look good.
Well, hey, Jace might have two hands to actually be able to do something with this year. He played with a club on one hand for a majority of the season last year. Well, let's talk about the schedule. As if it wasn't tough enough last year when you opened with Derby, went to Colorado to play Wheat Ridge and Arvada, and then you come back and you take on yet another really tough team in Manhattan. It's even tougher this year because Wheat Ridge not making the trip to Hayes. So you open at Derby. You welcome the 6A Division II champs out of Oklahoma and Choctaw. They're coming to Hayes for that first home game, and then you go to Manhattan. If it was possible to make the schedule tougher, it's been a success in doing that.
Yeah, we did, and I don't think we really knew what we were getting into initially with Choctaw. Then we started researching more. We were out of options. Yeah. And we were just kind of like, at this point, bring it on. I mean, I don't know that the recipe of what we did last year is the right recipe to make a run, but it seemed to work last year. And so if something works, I guess you double down on it and go bigger. But man, Choctaw, people don't realize, everybody's familiar with Derby, everybody's familiar with Manhattan. They're the same caliber, it's the same kind of team. And if those three teams played each other, week in and week out, it would be, who knows which way it would go. So it's going to be a grinder up front. We keep talking about culture and the culture we've built and what it looks like, and if we're going to be able to, continue to push that forward. And we'll find out right away in the first month if our culture can survive the onslaught that we're going to have right up front.
If the record is 3-0 or 0-3 or anywhere in between, how important is that and the culture and sticking together, regardless of what those first 3 games record ends up being?
Yeah, I don't know. I think, man, if we could find one early, for sure, that's a big. Last year we were lucky enough to be able to go out and find a win out in Colorado, and it was weird there too, because you could kind of lean on the grind of having to drive all the way out to Denver and stay in hotel rooms. And we tried to make it seem like it was a tough thing to go back and forth, but it'll be nothing like what we're going to open up with here. I think, Dustin, no matter what it looks like, I really feel like the spirit of this place and the spirit of getting the home crowd here, and that first September 12th is going to be wild. And I don't know what's going to happen when, on the scoreboard that night. Who knows? I think it could be it could go either way. It could be a tight game. I really don't know what to expect, but I really think the enthusiasm of the new place will help carry us through no matter what happens. And whether it's 1 win, 2 wins, 3 wins, 0, I think we'll be in the right place hopefully after those 3 games.
When you're an athlete, and maybe to a coach for a certain degree as well, you have to figure out how to regulate your emotions.
Yeah.
The emotions of that night for everybody involved is going to be off the charts, and I'm sure it's something that's already been in your mind. But how do you handle the 2 and 3 days even leading up to a game like that?
Well, I don't think we're going to regulate it at all. Honestly, I think we're just going to cut them loose and turn. Honestly, if we better bring our game anyways. If we don't, and you know how it is in football and any sports, but those first couple minutes of the game usually don't dictate the outcome of the game, and so we'll try to remind the guys of that. But man, coming through underneath that tunnel that's just beautiful underneath the bleachers there, and they're talking about maybe some fireworks and all kinds of things, and I would kind of feel about those, but it's just going to be an electric atmosphere, and again, hopefully there's some bumps and bruises that we can forget about from week 1 because of the enthusiasm of this. Hopefully the emotions don't carry over to week 3, and you just kind of hope to keep it right in the middle of that week 2, and if we can do that, I think we'll be fine.
You get through those 3, and then you've got the Western Athletic Conference that has not been easy for anybody to get through. You have Junction City that's in there as well. There's not a moment to take a breath on this schedule this year.
No, there's not. And we, looking at the schedule, we could be, last year, if you looked at it, we felt like we were a really good team, and we were sitting there at 4-4. And felt like we gave a couple games away there, that we really could have been better, or maybe even been worse. And so I think it's going to be the same kind of thing this year. Obviously we're expecting to and hoping to win every game. It's probably not realistic, and so we'll see where we're at when it all rolls out. But we're hoping to be able to at least put ourselves in a situation when we get back here and host a home playoff game. But we also understand that's a tall task this year.
All right, we will have some time between this interview and September 12th. But I guess maybe just to express to everybody how important it is to come out here and for that September 12th game, it wouldn't matter who the opponent is, but to see Hayes High play a varsity football game at Hayes High School for the first time ever, what that means for the community and what you hope to kind of express to everybody.
Yeah, and really I didn't dig into this when we talked about the emotions, but I think a lot of that starts also, on the maroon and gold that's going to come up here later this week on Friday night. And it's just, if we can get as many people out here on September 12th to support, I think, Dustin, this is going to be one of the bigger events, that the high school version of the town of Hayes has ever seen. It's going to be wild and big, and people just seeing the new place. There's so much pride when the kids can walk out, and the community can walk out, and they can see Hayes High Indians on the field. They can see maroon, they can see gold. That's never happened before. Right. It's never happened in football. And I just think that it's, when you walk in the school and you walk around all the places where you can see this facility, it's just something that the community needs to see. And if they can get out Friday to kind of get a dress rehearsal of it for the maroon and gold, that's even a bigger thing. So it's every day. We see people out at practice walking around, checking things out, and it's not a good year to put in trick plays. I know that because there's so much excitement about it. But please come out and support us September 12th. It's going to be a fun atmosphere.
Coach, appreciate it. Good luck on the season. Coach Tony Crough for the Hayes High Indians. I'm Dustin Armbruster for Eagle Media and Hayes Post.